Welcome back to the Matter of Facts podcast on the Prepper Broadcasting Network. We talk prepping, guns, and politics every week on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. Go check out our content at mwfpodcast.com on Facebook or Instagram. You can support us via Patreon or by checking out our affiliate partners. I'm your host, Phil Rabalais, and my co-host, Andrew Bobo, is on the other side of the mic, and here's your show. And welcome back to Matter of Facts podcast. Me and Andrew are both here to aggravate and possibly entertain y'all along the way. But Andrew's going home to country roads. I have a big bag. But before we get into the topic, I have another little bout of administrative stuff to take care of. Because if I don't do it now, I will absolutely forget. So if any of y'all are on our social media, you might have noticed that I dropped a post on Facebook recently explaining that quite possibly our days on Facebook are numbered. We have apparently pissed off the overlords of the internet by being affiliated with bad people that say bad things, being the Prepper Broadcasting Network. And best I can tell, their website and the URLs to it have been blacklisted by Facebook. So every time we ever posted or linked anything back to PBN, which is every one of these streams on Facebook, it got nuked. At least going back 20 weeks. And I have little doubt that that's going to continue to be a trend moving forward. For the moment, if you actually look in the show description, you'll notice that it's no longer a hyperlink back to PBN. It's a little bit of trickery to hopefully get around the Facebook filters. It looks like it's actually working because I could see a stream to Facebook. But consider this your warning now that if we suddenly stop dropping these streams on Facebook, it's because we're persona non grata, and you should probably check us out either at Rumble or at YouTube, where you can still watch the stream. Or if you're listening to this in audio form, then ignore everything I just said, which y'all probably do anyway.
Or I guess I could always just we could get the website back doing it, so every time we stream, it just goes right to the website, which that it is set up for that. We just haven't been doing it.
Yeah, we haven't been doing it because, there's an argument to be made that we get better reach on Rumble. I would say
well, YouTube, if we're not doing Facebook, we might as well throw it on the website. And I don't know, there's options out there.
Yeah, we have options to get the stream out one way or the other. I guess this is just me letting everybody know, because we do get those people who do check us out through Facebook, but I don't think the interface has been particularly kind to them, and the lag has not been great. And
I guess the way I look at it is if we're not on Facebook, then they can't check us out on Facebook. So,
well, we are on Facebook right now.
For now. The other thing that I want to throw out there is if you're a Patreon, check out the Secret Santa, the MOF Secret Santa for Patreons. So make sure you check that out. I was told to announce it over the airwaves.
I appreciate you reminding me. I made a very quick random facts drop for that. I've posted it on Patreon itself in text form. We've talked about it on the Signal chat. At this point, if you're a patron, you should have been duly informed that Stuart is running a Secret Santa. If memory serves me, I think you have about another week to follow the instructions to get
November 12th.
Okay. So 10 days. So you have a little bit more time if you want to partake. It is patrons only. Sorry, we got to cut it. We have to have some standards. They're low, but they're there. So, topic. We can't just talk administrative crap the whole time. Nobody wants to hear that.
No. I've been listening to. I've been re-listening to Franklin Horton's Borrowed World series, and I think the 10th book for Mad Mick just dropped actually. So take a look at that, or listen to that, I guess. I've been re-listening to Borrowed World, and that got me thinking of, Bugout Bags versus Get Home Bags, and we've really never talked Bug Out or Get Home. We've talked about scenarios of hey, this is what we might do and stuff like that, but we have never really discussed a bag. So and I really feel like that it's needed, and I think that it's good to have knowing the difference between the two, because obviously there's a big difference between a Bug Out and a Get Home, but just knowing the difference and then just kind of knowing what to put in each one. Really, the nice thing about the bug out versus uh, get home, it, I mean, obviously the bug out is to me it's bigger. It's going to be a lot bigger of a pack. If I have to throw a bag in that I'm not coming home in, or I'm not coming home ever again, it's going to be a lot bigger. It's probably going to be like an in frame, something that has a lot of good support, uh, and then it can carry a lot more because I need to pack a few more extra of everything kind of thing, in there. And uh, a bug out bag it's meant to be more lighter. I know one website, actually multiple websites I came across while doing some reading on this, and like they're saying try to keep it under 20 pounds if possible for a get home bag. Obviously, depending on how far away you are from home, it all depends. But I guess to me, like I work, it's roughly a 30-minute drive. I think it's about 25 miles uh, one way. So that would be that's like a good distance for a get home bag. I mean, you could probably stretch it out to a couple hundred miles, but to me, looking at ranges and stuff like that, to me, it's if you're over 500 miles or even more, or even if it's 400 miles or so, I would almost consider you're packing your bug out bag, and hoping that you can get it to get home. But yeah, no, I mean, what are your thoughts, Phil? I know your thoughts are completely different than mine as far as bags and everything like that, because I know you guys are more of a bug in family versus
We
bug out. And if you guys got a bug out, then you have vehicles, hopefully.
we are definitely like primarily a bug in family, so bug out is never something that we've put like a ton of effort towards. I mean, the amount that it's like everything else in preparedness. It is to the degree you feel like the scenario is likely, to the severity of if you don't prepare for it kind of situation. And with the preparedness level we have here at the house, it would take a not inconsequential event to push us out of the house because our odds are better weathering it here, as it is in most people's homes. To me, though, like this is a philosophical question of like what the mission you're trying to accomplish is. And for a bug out bag, again, I echo what you said. Bug out to me says I don't intend to come home, so I might be more focused on things that are like long term survivability. I might prioritize, say, water filtration over carrying water. I might prioritize a camp stove so that I have the ability to, if I catch or forage or trap, I have the ability to add that into my diet. I might prioritize things very differently for a bug out bag because the bug out bag is like, for as long as I am able, I want to be able to live out of this bag. To me, a get home bag is a very different proposition because it's much more mission focused. If you're 5 miles from home, your bug out bag, like we were talking about before, if I'm anywhere here in town, a bottle of water and a handgun will get me home. So my get home bag scales much more readily than a bug out bag does, in my opinion, because it's all about how do I get from wherever I am back to my home. And if you are around the corner, that's a very different proposition than if you are 10, 15, 20 miles from home. Or to your point, if we are 100 miles from home, at that point we bring the bug out bag because if you have to go 100 miles, you're not going to have a small mission focused get home bag. You are now in a long term posture to get back home, so you need a different level of supplies. But like to me, that's the philosophy that we're chasing here. Is a get home bag is going to scale dramatically up to a certain extent because the mission is from wherever I am, get home. And if home is a couple of miles, I don't need a lot of stuff. If home is 40 miles, like let's say my commute to and from the office, 40 miles is more than I'm going to do in an afternoon. But I'm still mostly going to prioritize things that don't require heat, don't require me to cook, don't require me to stop, things I can eat on the move, water I can consume as I move, because my goal is to move as quickly as possible to cover the distance, knowing that once I get home, I'm safe. I have provisions. I have firearms. I can kind of get my breath about me. A get home bag to me is meant to facilitate a sprint race home. A bug out bag is meant to facilitate a marathon because you're going
Yeah.
to live out of this bag for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I mean, but even though a get home bag, it can still utilize. I mean, you got the 72-hour bags that are reasonably that are pretty reasonable in size and everything like that. So, I mean, I look at a get home bag as far as like, yeah, I mean, if I'm traveling 40 miles away, okay. If I'm traveling 100 miles, then you know what, it's going to be. But because like if you take in reference like Borrowed World Series from Franklin Horton, I mean, the main character is he's roughly, I think, 250, 300 miles from home, and he's
Yeah.
got a get home bag. And really, I mean, he has things that he utilizes through the whole entire way home. But and really, he's just resupplying is, you know, they're finding food in certain areas, they're replenishing water, stuff like that. And so I can definitely see having maybe 2 or 3 water bottles in there, but then have an Elgin bottle to where you can actually purify water. So, like, I mean, and that's the thing is with, to me, a get home bag, like you want to try to keep it light. So a full size, I mean, a tent is out of the question. More of, I'm going to have a roll of paracord or, you know, I guess not a full roll, like the 1,000 feet or whatever, but I mean, I'll have a good section of paracord and a tarp, something that I can sit down or lay down rather. I might, you know, the things that are pretty light are like the sleeping pads, like the roll up sleeping pads or the inflatable
Mm-hmm.
sleeping pads. Those do take time. That's the downside of them, is they do take time. So generally, I imagine a trying to get home is, yeah, you're crashing for a few hours and then you want to be up. So you know, that kind of thing, I'd say keep it light. So by all means, though, a tarp makes great can make a great shelter. So if you have plenty of paracord and a tarp, that can do that. You said no stove. I would disagree with you on that. I would actually have something small that I could heat water up if I had to. That's why, like the Nalgene bottle, or even the you don't want an insulated bottle, just because you can't put that in a fire. So you
Mm-hmm.
want like the single wall. It's like a single wall. Not, I want to say thermos, but
I know
like
what you're talking about, though.
yeah, like
Something you can
a
use
wall
over a
or something
stove.
with water. Yeah, so you can put over stoves. You can heat up some water because I mean, you like your coffee. So if you have to, you know, if you're stuck out and you have to walk over at least a day and a half, you're gonna want to get up and have some coffee. If you have the time and there's no threat, it all depends on your threat and where you're trying to evade or whatever you're trying to do. So, I mean, I imagine the get home bag. I imagine anyway, the way mine is set up is it's set up to where it's light. It's meant to be light. It's meant to be not stationary. I'm not living on it for more than, I hope, more than, you know, multiple days. But I am looking at anything else I can take. Like when I get home, like if I have to bug out, I can sit there and I can I can turn around and take all that stuff out if I want to, and I can put it in my bug out bag if I want. Like the get home bag is just a part of the bug out bag in my eyes. And that's the way I've kind of built my system.
No, I mean, and that's fair. What I would just one thing though, I am an unadulterated coffee hound, but in this scenario where speed and mobility, again, it's a sprint race versus a marathon, I will eat the damn coffee grounds if I need the caffeine that bad. Like, I mean, just being serious, because the other thing that to me really separates the intent, the purpose behind a get home bag versus a bug out bag is that if you're bugging out, you have two principal drivers. A is to get away from danger, which means you're not going to a specific location, you're going away from a specific
Mhm.
location. But you have some freedom to say, I have a water source here, I have a foraging source here, I have game here, and you kind of pick your target. Or you're bugging out to a specific location, which again, to me, that's not a bug out situation because you have a target you're going towards. You only have to get from wherever you are to the target, and that's where your provisions are. So that's almost like a get home bag, but home isn't your primary residence, it's your bug out location. What a what a get home bag really has to do, and what separates the mission of a get home bag from a bug out bag, is that if I'm using a get home bag, I have zero input into where I'm going. I have to go home. Home is where my family is. Home is where my
Right. Well, that's
responsibilities
the whole
are.
point of it.
Home's where. But I guess that's what I'm saying. I have to take the most direct path there is to get there as quickly as possible, barring some wiggle room. But if going home means going into the face of danger, I don't have an option. I have to get home to my wife and kid. So I guess that's why I continue to say, like, from my perspective, get home bag and bug out bag are doing very different things, even though it might seem on the face of it like it's kind of a moot point or I'm splitting hairs. But like to me, it's like, no, they are completely opposite missions, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, they
So,
are, and that's where the bags, like the bags are different. I mean, so jumping into it, really, I mean, I've built my both my bags. I've built around the three rules of survival, which 3 minutes without air, 3 hours in a harsh environment, so extreme hot, extreme cold. If it's a nice 65-degree day, even 70-degree day, I mean, as long as the temps don't drop at night too bad, you can sleep outside and relatively pretty easy and be fine. So this is 3 hours in a harsh environment, heat or cold, 3 days without drinkable water, and 3 weeks without food.
mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like that's the way I built my get home bag, and that's also the way I built my bug out bag. It is around there because uh, you look at like a get home bag. Like I said, you want to keep things you want to keep things light. So my bug out bag, I have a full I have a full water filtration system or a water filtration unit in there. It's a lot bigger. But in my get home bag, I have just a Sawyer, like a Sawyer Mini, or a Life Straw. I have a couple. I think I have two Life Straws and a Sawyer Mini in my get home bag, and that's just. I mean, and we've talked about it here before. The two is one and one is none.
Mm-hmm.
This is going across the whole spectrum of stuff as far as food, water, or fire rather, fire, water, shelter. I kind of have multiple ways of creating fire. A big lighter, you're never going to beat it.
Mm-hmm.
Carrying a big lighter, I mean, and they weigh nothing. So, I mean, I know in my bag, I mean, I have at least a half dozen big lighters. I have matches. I have ferro rod, stuff like that. So,
The one thing I do encourage people to pack, in addition to not to replace a big lighter, is a cigar torch.
mhm.
You can go get like the little cheapy like $20 blazers. You can get whatever you want, but a cigar torch, as long as you stay on top of the butane level and you don't let them leak all the way to zero. But I know from experience, you can get a cigar torch to fire in environments you cannot get a big lighter to keep a flame. So like that's just thinking out
Yeah,
loud.
yeah. The only issue, like what you said though, is the only issue is having the butane and that stuff. Sometimes they can go pretty quick if you're using it quite often. But I mean, butane doesn't weigh freaking anything. So if you had a can of butane at the bottom of your bag or something, uh, but uh, but yeah, I mean, I have my bug out bag or my get home bag rather is a Maxpedition, and that's the thing. And you don't have to spend like buku dollars on a bag, like thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars on a bag. Mine, I think when I bought mine was like 150 bucks, but unfortunately I can't even find it anymore on Maxpedition's website because it's not. I don't even think they make it anymore. But yeah, I mean, the thing is though is I like it because it's made out of like a pretty thick material, and I bought it when I was on search and rescue, and I've walked through rainstorms with that thing, and nothing inside got wet, and that's why I love it. And so right now I'm trying to actually get some cat smell out of it from a previous roommate. Their cat used it for a litter box for some reason, and I didn't know it. So I'm
Un
working on soaking it. So,
yeah.
but yeah. So I mean, and then my bug out bag is it's an Eberly stock. I think it's the Battleship. I think it's like a 90-liter in frame backpack. It's huge, but man, I can fit a lot of crap in that. And what's nice about it is it's fully loaded. I've never weighed it, which I should, but fully loaded. When I throw that sucker on, I mean, it's heavy, but with the way the support system is in it, and then the way the buckles come around your hips and kind of load bearing and stuff, like they designed it very well. So it definitely would be a pain in the butt to walk 20 miles in a day versus a get home bag. You could definitely walk, 14 or so miles in that day if you're really trucking. But I don't know. I mean, like you said, it's one is made for really living out of, and the other one's not. So I don't know. Yeah, it's just different. It's just interesting. I mean, both of them have their own kind of lanes, I think.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's an interesting topic. I mean, if
I
you haven't
just tend
thought
to
about it,
think I just tend to think that like a get home bag is just for a more limited mission set. And again, this is something that scales with the distance you are from home because if I'm the further away you are, the more sustainment gear you need up to a certain point, and once you hit that certain point, then to me the bag morphs into a bug out bag because you're gonna be on the road on your feet so long to get home. You might as well just bring the bug out bag and accept the weight penalty and everything else that comes with
mhm,
it. But I saw Joe Oliveira was talking earlier about how he carries water filters because there's water sources all around where he lives. And like I've said on several occasions, I I carry a water filter like in my hiking pack, but it's not my primary water source. Not around here. We have too much issue. We have too many issues, especially in the suburbs where I live. We have so much problem with saltwater water intrusion coming up from the Gulf. We have so much of a problem with industrial runoff. I would not stick my face in any puddle of water within 10 miles of where I live. I
but
would
that's
be
where
very worried about that.
but
So
that's
that's
where
why I
your mission
default.
is different, though. That's where
Yeah.
you need to look at. Okay, well, what would like so if you did have to get home, okay, well, I can't really drink out of the streams around here.
Nope.
So what can
Not
I
a,
do? And that's
not
where
a,
it's like you might have multiple bottles of water, an Elgin bottle, something, and it's so that's where up at Michigan we have a ton of fresh water. I mean, I guess say what you want about the PFAS and all that crap. I suppose I don't know, but really we have fresh water all over the place, and so sitting there and I mean I know like my old roommate and I, when we went camping up to the Porcupine Mountains, our only source like I think we hauled in a couple bottles of water each, and then we hauled in Sawyer mini filtration filters, and then we each had an Elgin bottle, and then we had a fifth of whiskey each. And the fifth of whiskey was actually the most important thing that we hauled in because we that's what we drank over the last like over that 3 4 days or so. But
priorities.
exactly. But when we were cooking and all that stuff, I mean, we camped right next to a stream. I would
Mm-hmm.
walk over the stream. I'd use the Sawyer Mini, filter all my water, go back, cook. I mean, and honestly, I wouldn't even have to. You don't even have to really do that with the Sawyer Mini. The only thing I used it with was one purifying, so I could drink it as well. But I
Mm-hmm.
would also use it to where a lot of the crap wouldn't come out, get filtered and stuff. I didn't have to filter it through like a bandana or anything like that. But yeah, no, the Sawyer Minis are one of the best inventions ever created. That and the life straws. If you're in Michigan, if you're in North America where you don't have to deal with a lot of salt water and stuff like that. If you have a lot of fresh water, yeah, it's the Sawyer Minis and the life straws are amazing. And the life straws, I know usually on Black Fridays and stuff like that, or Prime days, the Sawyer or the life straws go on sale for stupid cheap.
Oh yeah. Practically one shot use disposable prices at that point.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about water, which I think is important. Here's a loaded question that you might catch me on. Would you pack food in your get home bag?
Yes.
Why? How much?
So I would pack a different assortment of food. So I would definitely push more. Like I would have more the power bars, Cliff bars, stuff higher calorie items, and stuff that you could definitely eat on the move. But I'm not going to shy away from throwing in maybe a couple Mountain House or stripped down MREs or something like that. Even the stripped down MRE, like you don't have a lot of those meals. You don't have to warm up. You can tear them and you can eat them on the way, on the while walking. But I don't know if you're heading somewhere, if you have to, if you're in the situation where you're walking and you're getting home. I mean, even if you're driving and you're like, hey, I'm getting home, I need to get home, and you're driving, and it's something that requires you to maybe drive. You're driving, but you need to pull over and rest for a little bit. I mean, the ability to have something warm in your stomach, it's a morale booster.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't pack many meals at all, but I would definitely throw. I mean, I in my get home bag, I had like a pack. I had like one or two packs of ramen, which weigh nothing. I had a couple Mountain House, and then I had a bunch of the Cliff Bars. I had a bunch of and I need to actually put them in there because I took them out when I was cleaning my bag and I ate them. But yeah, um, just the energy bars and stuff like that. So I would definitely have a lot of those because eating those on the walk, like that helps a ton.
And see, I definitely echo the idea, the concept of if we're talking about a get home bag, mobility is your priority. You only need enough to get you home. So I'd definitely be prioritizing stuff that's super high calorie, doesn't require cooking, doesn't require me to stop. I mean, my go to is mainstay rations just because it's one of the few things that I know I can leave in the truck year round in 100-degree temperatures, and I don't, it's not going to be ruined by the time I get to it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're meant for freaking marine use. So they're impervious to salt water, they're impervious to humidity, they're impervious to temperature. I want to say
I mean,
I've
they're
heard,
loaded.
huh?
They're loaded with calories and stuff. I mean,
Oh yeah.
but the thing is though, is mainstay rations. I mean, they're not the tastiest thing.
Nope.
So
I have tasty stuff at home.
yeah, right. But
You
I
see
mean,
a
if you
theme developing here, right?
right, yeah, you want to get home. But if you are a day or more out, like at least a day, maybe 2 days out, yeah, I would definitely be okay with warming up some water and having a mountain house to where, yeah, you're on the walk. You're mowing down mainstay rations. You're day one or whatever it is. It's just one of those things where it's just a morale booster, and that like a warm, just warm food, warm water, coffee, candy, stuff like that. Something sweet like that is. I mean, especially with you with your health, like with your sugar and stuff, you got to think about that as well. So you got to be able to manage that.
So funny story. Since just a sidebar, since you brought it up, but since I've made this enormous dietary change, I have had a single blood sugar migraine in the last 6 months,
Hmm.
7 months, maybe 6 months. So like I the other day, for example, like we got up, we got moving first thing in the morning. It was a crazy day where we were just going the whole day. I literally ran right through breakfast and lunch and didn't eat until dinner time. No shakes, no headaches, no stomach aches, no issues whatsoever. My blood sugar has been really, really good. But what I would say is that if you're on your feet and you're going to be walking multiple miles to get home, like I'm not saying don't put food in the bag. You need the calories. If you don't, you're going to burn yourself to the ground. I'm just saying that like for my intent, for my purposes, because like when I think get home bag, I'm mostly thinking about like in my local commuting area, like 3, 4, 5 miles across town.
Hmm.
I I don't need a lot of stuff to do that. What I'm more concerned about is if we're talking like we were talking before the show when we're talking about that 650 miles I have to get from prepper camp back home. God forbid I have to do that without a vehicle. That is like there is no get home bag for that. At that point,
No,
you need a bag.
you're never gonna pack enough food for
Yeah.
that.
At that point, what you need is a bug out bag. You need a bag you can live out of.
Mhm.
Not if not indefinitely as long as humanly possible because of the distance involved. But for shorter distances, a mile, 2 miles across town, maybe 5 miles to the next town over, I go back to this idea of like it is more important that everything I have allows me to cover the maximum distance as quickly as possible. So I wouldn't say that a mountain house meal wouldn't be a morale boost, but for my purposes, I wouldn't pack the stove and I wouldn't pack it. I'd go as
See,
lightweight
I guess that's where we can
and minimalist as
that's
humanly
where we
possible.
disagree though, because I mean, I understand if you're 5 miles, okay, that's fine. But if you're a day, I'm talking like if you're within 5-10 miles, yeah, I wouldn't. It's okay. I could definitely see not packing that kind of stuff. But
Also, bear in mind that when you say a day, the terrain that I have around here, I could do 13, 14 miles in a day because it's flat. There's no mountains. There's no hills. There's no, like, the worst thing I have to do is avoid a friggin' bog or something. And that's
right,
not hard.
but if you're more than a day's walk,
Okay.
so
So we're
you're
talking
you're
about like
walking.
20 miles, give or
Yeah,
take.
you're walking. Yeah, it's a day and a half. Say 20 miles. You're good for 14 miles. After 14 miles, you're like, man, I need to freaking just. I need to lay down. I need to sit down. At least take a break. The other 5 miles, you're like, okay, yeah, I can do it after I sit down. But that's where I'm saying is having the ability to boil some water, so you have just a lightweight butane stove, something small, something simple, to where you can boil some water, throw in a mountain house, and get that replenished, that those calories. Uh, Replenished, and then get back on your feet and go. Because I mean, I don't know. I've been on some hikes where I've been stupid, and I was like, you know what? I'm good with the old the Cliff Bars. I'm okay with some of these energy bars or something like that. And I had like three of them, and I was like, I don't even want to look at another one. And it was like, nah, I'm done. Like, yeah, and that's the way I foresee it happen. Foresee it. What's going on is just the ability to sit and stop. Like just like I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
The
So
only
I would rather pack, like, if I needed to, I would rather pack a small lightweight stove, something that takes up zero, like it doesn't take up hardly any weight at all, and the ability to boil water, which is huge, and then pack two, like maybe one or two Mountain House meals, which takes up zero space really and hardly weighs anything. And that way, and then you get home, you don't use it. Cool. Throw it in your bug out bag if you need to. Throw it back in your stocks and or whatever, or eat it when you get home. But at least you have it, and that's where my thing is. Though, is like it just put it in there, and if you use it, cool. If not, then whatever.
So what I'm going to respond with is when you say 2 days, to me, that goes back to the get home bag scales. Like when you say to me get home bag, my immediate thought, bearing in mind again what my usual scenario is, because like right now with me working from home with my wife only being a few miles away while she and my daughter are at the school, like on under normal circumstances, we're not 2 days away from home. We're not 20 miles from home. We are within 3 miles of our house most of the time. So when you say to me get home bag, and maybe this is normalcy bias creepy in because I'm putting myself into my most likely scenario, but that's what you prep for. My most likely scenario is I need to get 3 miles. So when I hear things like mountain house stove, water filter, I'm like, why? I have to
Well,
get
yeah,
three
when you
miles.
when you mu- when you prep for the 3 mile radius, yeah, I can understand that.
But the
But what if
minute
you're
you
not?
say, but the minute you say, okay, Phil, it's 20 miles, it's 2 days, I'm like, that's a whole different scenario. Now I'm much more amenable to the idea of mountain house, extra calories, a stove, a water filter. I'm much more amenable to a lot of those things because it's a different scenario. This is like going back to when we first started talking about this, and I said the get home bag will scale for every mile away from home you are. The get home bag will continue to scale until it reaches a reasonable ceiling. I think a lot of where you and I are disagreeing about this is probably just the fact that, like, in our heads, we came into this with your most likely scenario is a very different scenario to get home versus mine because this is where I work. So
Yeah.
I am here in the middle of all my preps every day I'm at work, and the worst situation I have to deal with if something really crazy happened is I have to get my wife and daughter home, and they're only a couple of miles away. So I think that's where we're disagreeing a lot. Is we came into this with like your scenario, my scenario are this far apart, but
Well, but I
four
also
years before years ago when I wasn't working from home, how different would our scenarios have been the other direction? Because I would have been like, I'm 45 miles from home. I can't do this in a single day. I need this, and this. I need, spare socks. I need spare clothes. I need all this stuff because it's 2 days of walking minimum, probably three, to get 45 miles from New Orleans to where I live. So like I guess I'm saying is like my situation has changed, and what I'm describing that sounds maybe underprepared, it's actually probably pretty appropriate for what my individual situation is. But the get home bag has to scale to
No,
yours.
it so my get home bag, it was around 3 days. I packed it for, no matter what I did, I packed it for 3 days. And that's where, I guess that's where I'm at, is I don't care if I'm 10 miles from home, if I'm down the road, if I'm at work, or if I'm wherever I'm at. My get home bag it'll have provisions for 3 days, to where I can get home if I'm 3 days away. If I don't necessarily have to restock it, and so I don't scale it. I don't go through it every trip. If I'm going to downtown Grand Rapids, I don't scale it up and I don't scale it down. It's exactly the way it is, and I know exactly what's in it. And so that's where I'm saying, like, you're 3 miles or so from home. That's awesome. So if you decide to leave, and you're like, I'm going to throw my bag in the back of the truck, and I got within 3 miles or whatever. But then you end up having to run an errand, like your parents call or your sister, like something happens to where you're like, oh man, I got to run out of town, and then like something happens. I mean, worst case scenario, pick your disaster, and then you gotta walk home, and now you were 3 miles, but now because of some errands and stuff like that, now you're 15 miles.
Mm-hmm.
So
No,
that's where I'm saying is, that's where I don't scale I don't scale my get home bag. It stays the same, no matter what. It's because that way you know what's in it. But no,
but
I mean,
here,
I get what you're saying, though. I mean, I definitely get what you're saying. If you're within 3 miles, if you're within that radius of work or school and all that stuff, I give me 2 bottles of water and I can make it home within 2.5 hours, 3 hours. Like, cool.
yeah. And I mean, this is also one of those moments in time where, like, I always try to check myself and remind myself to remind people when we start talking about these kinds of situations is that I'm never going to say don't prep for that phone call you get that brings you 15 miles out of town when you thought you'd be around the corner. What I'm going to suggest is that you should concentrate first on your preparedness to the most likely scenario. Goes back to the whole what's your zombie. It goes back to the area study we talk to Ford Observer about all the time. It comes down to like read read the lay of the land, and whatever your most likely emergency is, that's the first thing you should prepare to. And then if you want to get off the beaten path and start preparing for less likely scenarios, cool. But it's like I always tell people, if you have 100 tourniquets in your house and no band-aids, that is a preparedness fail, because you should have 100 band-aids first, because you're going to need them more often. I mean, if you need tourniquets before band-aids, we have to have a whole discussion
That's a
about,
terrible day.
oh yeah, that is all kinds of a terrible day wrapped up together with a bow. But the point remains. I'm not going to say don't do that. I'm just going to say if you should prepare for your most likely scenario, and that's what I'm describing. My most likely scenario is what it is. But like we were talking about before the show, like bear in mind that I also, because we've talked about vehicle preparedness, I keep a minimum amount of gear on my vehicle at all times. A minimum amount of food, minimum amount of water, tarp. I keep all that stuff. It just stays on the vehicle, and my wife has the same in her Jeep. So in the event, and that stuff is all really built there so that if we get stranded or strung out someplace, we can literally live out of the vehicle for a period of time based on the water and the food and the provisions that are on that vehicle. So in the event we were 15 miles from home and we only expected to be 3, we could supplement the get home bag from the stuff on the vehicle, because I've got enough stuff in those vehicles to keep 3 people sustained for at least a day. Again, what's the most likely scenario? We're going to be somewhere in the middle of nowhere, no cell service, and we blow a tire and we can't get it changed, or something happens and we're stuck out there. We need to be able to feed ourselves, keep ourselves water for 24 hours. If we can do that, we'll probably be okay. Somebody will drive by sooner or later. Somebody will come looking for us. A cop will pass by, whatever. Again, most likely scenario. But I
Yeah.
don't disagree with you about the idea of like a get home bag versus a bug out bag. I think we'd have different ideas about what they are, but I think we both agree about the fact that like they are both aimed at doing very different things, despite the fact that at first glance they're accomplishing the same thing. Because I mean they have to sustain you in the same ways. You have to have shelter, you have to have food, you have to have water. If you don't have those things, you're not going to make it very long. And you were talking earlier about shelter and about the temperature. The other thing I want to point out, because like we dealt with this on a recent camping trip, and it's something that has kind of jumped back into my memory recently. I am probably going to invest in a bit of mosquito netting down here, because down here in South Louisiana, it's the temperatures are pretty mild. You know, like right now we're having a cold snap. It was in the 50s today, and we like
Oh, jeez.
people are dressed up like like it's the North Pole outside. It's
Shorts
pretty
weather.
hilarious. Yeah, no, it's not. It's sweater weather down here. But guess what? Most other times of the year, when it's not sweater weather, it's mosquito weather, and it's tick weather, and it's chigger weather. So it's not just I need shelter from the cold. It could also be I need shelter from the rain, because you and I both know if you get exposed to the elements and you get wet, you're going to lose body heat real fast. It could also be just the fact that I'm going to tell you right now, getting eaten up by mosquitoes may not be life threatening, but it could be. And getting enough ticks on you, that can become life threatening very quickly. And getting eaten up by chiggers is just going to make your life a living hell for a couple of weeks. So, like, keeping pests off of you, keeping yourself dry, keeping yourself warm, whatever your environment is, that's what you need to prepare for. If you're going to be like walking in the desert of Arizona, you damn sure better have a way to keep the sun off your skin, or it's going to cook you on the side of the road. So, like, consider that food for thought. What the bug out bag and the get home bag need to do at the end of the day is they need to sustain you while you accomplish your mission. Your mission is either to get home or it's to get away from danger. But they do the same thing in opposite things at the same time, if that makes any damn sense at all.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just getting into get home bags. I mean, the one thing, I mean, like you said, the get home bag is basically I'm not coming back. Whether
Bug out bag, you mean?
yeah, bug out bag. Sorry. So whether you're bugging out to just a backup location or you're bugging out, I mean, to somewhere. I don't know. Hopefully, everybody has a bug out location. And so, but what we were talking about before the show is, and I know I've talked about this on the uh, where's my thought? We talked about this on previous episodes. Basically, you want to have those provisions for longer than 3 or 4 days. And then also on top of that, though, you want to be able to live out of it. So multiple changes of clothes, socks, underwear, shirts, pants, whatever, what have you. Maybe another pair of boots, depending on how old your current ones are, what they are, if they're comfortable. And this is if you are not driving. If you're driving, yeah, obviously you're going to throw in a couple different pairs of something, and you're going to have more provisions. But a bug out bag though, but I mean, I'm gonna have on a thumb drive. I'll have a copy of my passport, driver's license, birth certificate, social security card. Now that I have a house, I'll have a copy of my mortgage or my
Homeowners insurance.
yeah, homeowners insurance. Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing though, is like have a copy of all this stuff on a thumb drive, multiple thumb drives even. Have one maybe at work in a safe if you have the ability to put one in a safe. Have one stationed somewhere, maybe at your bug out location if you have one, and then have one that you have on you and in the bag. And so basically, yeah, this is a bag that you take the get home bag and you're just scaling it up to where now the 72-hour pack is now bigger. And so I'm gonna have food. I'm gonna have the ability to purify or to filter water a little bit better, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, they're not going to differ too much. I mean, you're basically just scaling up things, and you're making, you might have a tent in your bug out bag, a lightweight camper's tent, instead of a tarp. You might
Mm.
have a small, a lightweight sleeping system. You might have, I don't know. It's just going to be different. And obviously, if you are driving, which would be all our ideal plan, it would be driving is because in my truck, I know I can fit a lot of provisions in my truck if I ever had
Hmm.
a bug out. So yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, hopefully none of this ever happens or is needed, but they don't call us preppers for nothing.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think what's important at the end of the day, and this is kind of where I need to catch we need to catch Raggle Fraggle's question
Yeah.
before we get too off topic. But like this is one of those moments, Tom, where I always tell people, I'm like, there's to me, there's 100 right ways to do preparedness. There's only one wrong way. The
And
wrong
it's
way
don't
is to
prepare.
not do it.
Yeah.
The 100 right ways is the 100 ways there are to do anything, and you just have to find the best way that works for you. And you're the only person that can make that assessment, honestly, because it's your situation, it's your livelihood, it's your life, it's your loved ones, it's all those things. So, like, you have to look at your situation and decide what is the best thing for me to do in my situation, not what two weirdos on the internet told me to do who don't know about my situation. But again, the only wrong way here is to not do it. So take 5 minutes and ask yourself, what do I need? And if you want to go super minimalist like Phil, who only has to get a mile home, bottle of water and a bag of Skittles and some good walk shoes, and you're off to the races. But I'm gonna tell you right now, if you gotta cover 20 miles, that bottle of water and that bag of Skittles ain't gonna get you very far. That's where being kind of mission centric comes around. Raggle Fraggle asked, "What bags do you guys have?" And Andrew, I think you might have answered that earlier, but he or she might have missed it. I don't know who Raggle Fraggle is off the tip top of my head, but I probably should.
Yeah, so uh my get home bag is going to be, it's a Maxpedition. They don't make it anymore. But it looks like it's almost kind of like the Falcon, I think it's called, is one of them that they have. It's a 72-hour pack. I love it. But and then my bug out bag is an Everly stock. I believe it's called. I think it's called the Battleship. What bag do you have? So I can look this up real quick.
All right, so bearing in mind that I don't do like pre-built at the ready bug out bags because it's just not my thing. But the closest analog I have is like my hiking pack. Not even my hiking pack, really my camping bag. It's the bag that it is that medium Alice rucksack sitting on that shelf back there. And it is what I take to prepper camp. It's what I take camping. I put my clothes in it. I have a stove in it. I have like everything I need to live for a while is in that bag. And it would not be very difficult to loosen up the top straps enough to slide in my little 2 pound, links to my little 1.5 man tent, because a 2 man tent is about the right size for a person my size. And I keep stuff like a ferro rod in it. I keep everything you would think of if I need to live in the woods for several days. My Catadine water filter stays in it. I've got some extra room. I could pack some Mountain House. I've got the stove. I've got coffee and everything already on board. Like, I've got stuff. And then the closest thing I could offer you as a get home bag is some little no name, like, I guess they're most commonly called like a salt pack. You know what I'm saying? It's a little bitty backpack that's only about that wide. And pro tip, mine was originally a diaper bag when my daughter was still in diapers, because I wasn't carrying like, the big cartoonish lady like diaper bag. So I had one, a little multicam, assault pack. And it has since stuck around to be the gun bag. It has stuck around to be like a real quick little lightweight hiking pack. If me and my family get out someplace and we're going to be hiking for a couple hours, I bring that. So I've got places for water and a little bit of food and a mainstay ration. It's stuff that is needed to sustain us for say half a day. But that's what I do. It's low tech, it's not glamorous, it's not cool, it won't get you points on Instagram. I don't really care. It does the jobs that it needs to do, which the get home bag in that scenario is really only designed to get me back to my truck. Because once I get back to the truck, I've got more firepower, I've got more food, I've got more water, I've got more preps. And like that's always the goal to me is get home bag is to get you in this scenario again, being like the ex-military guy. what we always say about carrying a handgun is that a handgun's only function is to get you back to your rifle, to get you back to a better weapon system. To me, a get home bag has only one job, and that is to get you back to a better level of preparedness. So whether that is to get you back to your vehicle or get you back to home, that's the only job a get home bag has to accomplish. Because when it gets you there, you upgrade yourself. It's like, level up to the next level.
Yeah, I actually I have so Eberly stock. I keep forgetting this. I always say battleship, but they make two of them. They make a destroyer and they make a battleship one. So the destroyer is a 63.9 liter bag, and the battleship is a 99.96 liter bag, which is a big sucker. So I have the destroyer. Is the one I have in Kyle Brown. So I love it. I've messed around with it. My goal this next summer is to get out and hike with it. If not this winter, get out and hike with it more. But I have loaded it out to go to prepper camp. The one year I did live out of it. Well, and I say live out of it, but I did. I mean, a lot of my food I had in there, and then my clothing and stuff. I packed that inside of there. But
And then the fridge
yeah,
full of beer.
and the fridge full of beer. But yeah, no, the destroyer, the Eberly stock destroyer. It's a solid pack. The reviews and stuff are great on it. It's an in frame pack, which is really nice. And the frame is pretty sturdy. Holds a lot of weight. The bag itself comes in only at like 7.5 pounds, which isn't terrible. So, um, really quick to answer Joe's. Do you guys have a fixed blade knives or axes? I actually have both. Uh, I have a couple fixed blade knives, and then I do have an axe right now, and I've actually been thinking about swapping that out to more of like one of the saws, like the camping saws that fold up to be really super slim. So I've been looking at those.
Andrew. I think we might have lost Andrew.
I can
Nope,
hear you just fine.
Andrew's back.
No, I could hear you just fine.
Oh, you
Weird.
roboted.
Huh. Interesting. But yeah, anyway, I do have both right now, but I'm looking at swapping out the axe for a saw, but we'll see. I
Yeah.
do like my axe though.
In my it's actually riding on my camping pack now, but I always keep my big the Kritzberg weapons manufacturing. Yeah.
Hmm.
KWM custom buoy strapped to it. It's I know from experience, true to Matt's word, it is absolutely heavy enough to baton with, to chop wood. I mean, up to a reasonable diameter. I don't feel the need for an axe most of the time. But again, if I need it and I have my truck anywhere nearby, I have an e-tool and I have a pocket saw and I have an axe. And actually, recently, I actually put a one of those little pocket chainsaws. It's literally just chainsaw chain with like two handles on it. I
Hmm.
started riding one of those
Yeah, those are nice. I'd use those
in
a
my.
lot.
I keep one of those in my rucksack. I mean,
Uh-huh.
they're this stinking big. They're this thick. They take up no freaking room, and it's one of those situations where it's like, would I bring a chainsaw in a hiking pack? Probably not. But this is so lightweight and so small, and it weighs so little. If I need it and it's there, great. And if I don't, who cares?
Yeah, no, I've used my old roommate and I. We used he had one of those, and that's actually how we basically got firewood for. It was like 3 or 4 days camping. That's how we got firewood every day. Was we just went down, found a down tree, loop it around there, and saw away. And man, it builds up a little bit of a sweat depending on how big everything is and how solid that wood is. But it's nice. I really liked it, and it ate right through the stuff.
I mean, yeah, it's a hand powered chainsaw.
Hmm.
So, you want to knock this off in the next 5 minutes before we roll this out?
Yeah, really quick. Go ahead.
So, Phil
What
and
do you
Andrew's
carry?
EDC. Well, couple of things actually, because like right now I'm still thick boy prepper trying to work on that. So my wife and I have been doing a lot of walking in the evenings, and for that my when we're on our walks, I carry, I mean, obviously, I'm wearing like a very thin, lightweight pair of running shorts. So I'm carrying the bare minimum humanly possible. I've got my house keys. I've got my concealed weapons permit. I have a Smith & Wesson 642 airweight J frame, 5 rounds. But again, it's one of those situations where it's like I am at most half a mile from my house. So I just need to be able to shoot enough ammunition to get home, in a pinch. And I carry my cell phone, obviously, and I have I do carry my streamlight, my little tactical flashlight, mostly because I find that if we walk later in the evening, it's a signaling device if for no other reason. Then if we're walking on the side of the road, I see a vehicle approaching, I'll shine it down at the ground so that the vehicle that's approaching can plainly see there's a person on the side of the road. And in a pinch, if it doesn't look like they're going to move over, I can pop it up into the windshield and give them the hint that you need to get the hell out of the way and not, side swiping with your vehicle. If it's not, if we're not on our afternoon walk, then I'm usually carrying my CZ compact, you know, and oh geez, I'm drawing a total blank. Kershaw Emerson CQC8 little folder Tonto. I'm actually probably gonna retire the poor thing here and before too much longer and have to upgrade it in something else because that poor knife, it at this point it needs the entire edge rebeveled. It's got so many chips and breaks in it. I mean, it's pretty chewed up. It looks like it's serrated even though it's not supposed to be. But I am very hard on knives and I'm very good about keeping them sharp, but this thing needs to have the whole edge ground off of it and redone because it's pretty beat up. But I mean, nothing really esoteric. I mean, I prefer to carry a double stack 9mm. I'm not that person that has a summer gun and a winter gun. I carry the same thing all the time. I dress around whatever I'm going to carry. And the only time I deviate from that is, again, if I'm, on a walk and I need as little weight as possible, or if I'm wearing dress clothes and I can't hip carry, I'll slim down to the J frame and I'll ankle carry it. But that Smith & Wesson J frame really is kind of like a special thing it's a special tool for a special set of purposes, but it's never what I want to carry into a fight if I have to have one. What about you? You still on the Smith & Wesson train or?
Yeah, no, I have a my pistol I carry is a MMP 2.0 milled with a SRO red dot on it, and then my knife I carry is a CRKT flip open. I was carrying a Microtech for a while, but I need to actually sharpen that. But for a wedding present, one of my buddies got me the CRKT folding knife. So I've been rocking that for a while, and I love it. It's got it's a Tonto blade on it. It's been pretty strong. I've cut a lot of crap with it so far. Holds a really good edge, so I've been pretty happy with it. And then I have a multi tool that I carry in my pocket, and then my Surefire stiletto flashlight. That's 1,000 lumens, which will melt holes in pants. Ask me how I know. But
Nice.
yeah. But yeah, no, I carry that. I been meaning to. I need to get my. I have my full size M&P that I need to get. I want to get milled because unlike you down there, who it's warm year round, up here I need to. I wouldn't mind having a bigger gun to carry. Which I don't know. I thought about getting a different holster for my my CZ SP01, so maybe I could carry that inside the waistband. We'll see. I don't know how that'd be not very comfortable, but I've never done it before, so it'd be interesting. But depends where you put it.
I mean,
But
honestly, the only thing I think about, again, I'm a CZ nerd, but the only thing you might want to think about if you go that route is get yourself at least one plain Jane CZ75 mag, flush fit, no base plate, none of the because
yeah,
the SP01 and the 75 could take the exact same
yeah,
magazines, but by dropping down from an SPO1 to a regular old 75 magazine, you'll take what, like 3/4, almost 1 inch off the magazine by not
almost,
having
yeah,
the base plate. You'll lose a couple of rounds, but I mean, it'll
yeah,
definitely shorten up that dimension that you're going to deal with as far as how long the grip is.
yeah. Yeah, but that's that, I mean, as of right now, and then and then I guess, I mean, yeah, it's not a pocket dump, but I do carry an ankle med kit on me. It's every day. So in the winters, I carry a pocket med kit that kind of rolls up, that kind of fits right in a cargo pocket. But in the summer, but really in the summer, I don't wear shorts very much anymore, even in the summer because of work and stuff like that. But no, I carry ankle med kit from Riker Gear, I believe it is, and so I carry that my ankle, and that actually has a streamlight, the little streamlight flashlight that you have. I have that stuff down in there as a secondary light uh,
Hmm.
and everything. But yeah, my main light's a Surefire Stiletto, which I think is stupid bright. But yeah, no, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So I guess, I mean, just to wrap this up, like, I, I I think, as Andrew and I often do, where we don't see eye to eye on a topic, I really think a lot of it comes down to, like, at least the perceived mission that we're dealing with. I think a lot of it comes down to environment, and, like, that's honestly the best thing. That's the best way to have a disagreement in this kind of space, I think, because Andrew and I, living in very different environments with very different living situations, I don't think should agree on a lot, 100%. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, big concepts, sure, but you and I really should be tailoring our preparedness to our individual situations, which is why I always tell people, I'm like, if you see the situation differently than I do, and you think a different tool or a different system or a different whatever works for you, good. That tells me you've done enough thinking that you can make an intelligent decision. I'm very agnostic is the phrase I want to use on specifics of how a person prepares for an emergency. The only thing I'm really a jerk about is the wrong way is to not do it. So if you don't have a get home bag, or if you don't have a plan to get home from wherever you're going, now might be a good idea to, take a moment, take a pause, and think about what would it take me to get home from wherever I usually am. And at the same time, if you have the bug out bag packed up by the front door, ask yourself, if you have that, then what do we need to do so that wherever we are, we have a bag to get home to where the rest of our preps are? Or do you just take the bug out bag everywhere with you, and wherever you are, you just bug out from there? I mean, there are no wrong answers here. There's 100 right ways. Just figure out the best way for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, like I said at the top of the show, Facebook is being kind of a jerk. For the moment, it looks like the Facebook stream might have survived, so I guess we'll wait and see how this works out. If y'all are going to continue to watch us on Facebook, and I'm not going to discourage that, I would just ask, every time y'all share this, every time y'all comment, every time y'all like it, all the interaction helps. And frankly, we are trying to build a little bit of an audience. So if y'all are feeling charitable and want to tell your friends about us, we would love that. If, however, the streams stop showing up on Facebook, it's because they got pissed and nuked us finally. And if that happens, I encourage you to look for us either on YouTube or Rumble or our own website, mofpodcast.com. I mean, unless we get blacklisted by Google, you'll be able to find us somewhere. But, Matter of Fact's podcast heading out the door. Good night, everybody.
So yeah.